I've always loved reading this book growing up, and I've always thought that it showed such a beautiful picture. Um, the book of Ruth shows a lot of symmetry. The opening chapter of tragedy and death is followed by Ruth's loyalty to Naomi. In turn, Boaz's loyalty leads to the restoration, joy, and birth within Ruth's life. First off, Ruth was a Moabite. And the Moabites were the descendants of Lot. We can turn in Genesis 19, verse 37. It says, "And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day." And now let's just start out in Ruth, chapter 1. And it says, "Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephraimites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came unto the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband." So these few verses set up the story of this family's tragedy and grief. Naomi and her husband come to Moab to find temporary residence, and after 10 years, Naomi's husband ends up dying, as well as her sons and grandsons. All that is left is Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth. Let's continue on reading verse 6 through 18. And it says, "Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, and she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place there where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dwelt with the dead and with me. And Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that ye may be that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say so, I have hope. If I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons. Would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much of your sakes, that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people, and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to go from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. Alrighty, so there's a lot of emotion in these verses, clearly. It's safe to say that Ruth loves her mother-in-law. The two daughter-in-laws want to follow Naomi, but she tells them there's no reason to, and that she has no more sons. By saying that, Naomi was referring to the Levirate law, which is found in Deuteronomy 25 and verse 5. We'll look at that real quick. And it says, if brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no children, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. If the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders, and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of his city shall call on him, and speak unto them, and if he stand to it, and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face, and shall enter and say, so shall it be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel, and house of him that hath his shoe loose. So this required a deceased man's brother to marry his widow if she has had no sons, ensuring that the family's line and inheritance would continue on. Since Naomi had lost her husband and 2 sons, and was now too old to have any more children, she believed there was no hope of actually fulfilling this law. But Ruth clave unto Naomi and refuses to leave her. Ruth uses the word entreat in verse 16. She says, and Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. This basically means to not let Naomi beg her to leave her, and because she didn't want to hear that. She was going to stand by her side. Most importantly, she is fully accepting the true God as her God. We will find later that he will bless her for that. Let's continue on verse 19. And it says, so they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dwelt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. It's very interesting how names were used back in that time. These days, if we're going through some rough times, we don't ask our friends and family to call us by a completely different name. It's just how Jesus changed. It's just how Jesus changed Peter's name from Simon, Barjona, or how Jacob's name was changed to Israel. We see it a lot throughout the Bible. Let's look at Genesis 32, verse 27. And it says, and he said unto him, What is thy name? He said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hath prevailed. All right, let's go back to Ruth chapter 2. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, Let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, Go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And her hap was so light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. So they're in Jerusalem now, and obviously they need to eat, so they need to go get some barley. The author gives us a glimpse that Naomi has a wealthy kinsman of her husband. Ruth decides to go out and glean, just so happens to glean on Boaz's field. She didn't know that she was going to Boaz's field that day. And this time, there was a law requiring to leave the corners of a field for the poor to clean. Let's look at Leviticus 19 and verse 9. It says, And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And then let's look at chapter 24, verse 19. It says, If a man cause a blemish in his neighbors, as he hath done, so shall it be done to him. That's 25. 24, verse 19. That's not the right one. Anyways, let's go back to Ruth chapter 2. And we'll continue in verse 4 through 17. It says, And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said unto the reapers, The Lord be with you. And they answered him, The Lord bless thee. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, Whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, It is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, Hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from thence, but abide here fast after my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and that thou go after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou artest, go unto the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground, and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been shown to me, that all that thou hast done unto my mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knowest not heretofore. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. And she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, For thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, thou I be not like unto one of thine handmaidens. And Boaz said unto her, At mealtime come thou thither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat it, and was sufficed, and left. And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not, and let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. So she gleaned in the field even until even, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. All right. So Boaz shows immediate grace to her that the very first time he meets her. He tells his servants to let her have a little extra, and he has her eat and drink at his table. She ended up ending the day with the equivalent to 6 to 8 gallons of barley. And in that time, that would have costed around a shekel of silver. And to give that some context, a whole day's wage was about a quarter of a shekel. So that was a good amount of barley that she was able to glean in just one afternoon or one day. Let's continue on in verse 18. And she said, And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw that she had gleaned. And she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And her mother-in-law said unto her, Where hast thou gleaned today? And where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, The man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, The man is near of kin unto us, one of our kinsmen. And Ruth the Moabitess said, He said unto me also, Thou shalt fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. And Naomi said unto Ruth her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet there, not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. So I'm sure Ruth was excited to show Naomi all that she was able to bring home and tell her about her day. Naomi is glad to hear it too, because Boaz was a kinsman. Let's look at verse 1 of chapter 3. It says, Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens what thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor, but make not thyself known unto the man, until he shall have done eating and drinking. And it shall be, when he lieth down, that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And she said unto her, All that thou sayest unto me I will do. And she went down on the floor, and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet, and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, Who art thou? And answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, insomuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not, I will do thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. All right, so here we see Ruth following Naomi's instructions. She is expressing her desires for Boaz to redeem her and Naomi. Boaz accepts, and notice the compliment Boaz gives her in verse 11. That being that, for all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. The Greek meaning, or what he's saying in the Greek, is Ashit Sheal, which translates to woman of noble character. This same term was used to describe a woman in Proverbs 31. Let's look at Proverbs 31 real quick. It says in verse 10, who can find a virtuous woman, for her price is far above rubies? And let's go back to Ruth, chapter 3, verse 12. And it says, now it is true that I am thy near kinsman, howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman unto thee, then I will do the part of a kinsman to thee. As the Lord liveth, lie down until the morning. And she lay at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before one could know another. And he said, let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. He said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her. And she went into the city. And when she came out to her mother-in-law, she said, who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. So here we learn about a closer kinsman, and once again, Boaz doesn't let Ruth leave empty-handed. He sends her home with another thing of barley. Let's look at chapter 4, verse 1. It says, then went Boaz up to the gate, and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and said, sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants, and therefore the elders of my people, if thou wilt redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the handmaid of Naomi's, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar thine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the manner in the former time of Israel, concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things a man plucketh off his shoe, and gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. So Boaz sits down with the other kinsmen, and explains the whole situation. And at the end of their conversation, the other kinsman explains that he cannot redeem her, and it's going to mar his own inheritance. So Ruth and Boaz can now sigh in relief that they can get married. There's no longer the closer kinsman in the way. Let's look at verse 9. It says, And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, Ye are witnesses this day that I bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's, of the hand of Naomi's. Moreover, Ruth and the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren. And from the gate of his place ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were there in the gate and the elders said, We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come unto thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel. And do thou worthily of Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, and of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. And Naomi took the child, and laid it into her bosom, and became nurse unto it. And the woman, her neighbor, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, and the father of David. Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begat Hezron, and Hezron begat Ram, and Ram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nahshon, and Nahshon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz, and Boaz begat Obed, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David. All right, so at last, a marriage. Boaz takes Ruth as his wife, and they have a son who would be the grandfather of King David. Throughout the Old Testament, we see types of Christ. These are used to foreshadow or prefigure Jesus Christ. Jonah, which I did a lesson on last time, is considered a type of Christ, as it foreshadowed the resurrection of Jesus. Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 nights, just as Jesus was in the tomb for 3 nights. Boaz here is a type of Christ as well. He was the Redeemer for Ruth, but Jesus is the Redeemer for all humanity. He also shared a lot of the same traits of Jesus. He was generous, a protector, righteous, and a just man. What makes this story even more beautiful is that Boaz is the son of Rahab and Salmon. That was crazy to me because I did the little lesson with Rahab and gosh, I'm going blank. The walls of Jericho. There we go. So Rahab was the lady who was able to take in the spies and protect them. Let's look at Matthew verse 1. And or chapter 1, verse 5. And it says, And Salmon begat Boaz, the Rechab of Rechab, and Boaz begat Obed of Ruth, and Obed begat Jesse. So the name Boaz is more commonly used, but the spelling B-O-O-Z is apparently the Greek transliteration in the New Testament here. As we know, Rahab was the woman who secured the Israelite spies when they came into Jericho. Let's look at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 31. It says, let's look at verse 30 and 31. By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. Let's look at James chapter 2, verse 24. Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. Likewise also was not Rahab the harlot justified by works, when she had received the messengers, and had sent them out another way. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. It's crazy to think that the single family saved from the wicked city of Jericho ended up being a huge part of the lineage of Christ. God has time and time again used the most unlikely and unworthy people in our minds to set up the very Lord that redeems us all. So that was my lesson tonight, or this morning. And but Ruth's just a really beautiful story, and it's just amazing to see how God uses that.